I was having a movie conversation with a friend the other day, and he mentioned the fact that the new Equalizer film is out. And had I seen it? I haven't seen any of the Equalizer films. And he was shocked. And he was like, go away and watch them immediately, because I think you'll really enjoy them. So I decided to do a series. I've watched Equalizer 1, 2, and I'm going to go and see 3. I'm going to review all 3 of them. So the Equalizer, starring Denzel Washington, just totally passed me by when it first came out. I think this was because it came out around the time of like Taken 3, and there was a few other films kind of that style. It just wasn't my bag at all, and I just assumed it was going to be more of the same in this instance. I was so wrong. This was really surprising to watch. It has all the hallmarks of a classic action-y kind of film, but then it has this deep message to send about being a good person. Denzel Washington's character is just a good man trying to live in the world. He has a bit of a past that is alluded to very early on in the film. He goes out to basically defend the good. He is like a good Samaritan trying to right wrongs in the world. And it gets to a level where he has to use violence, and he has some history in that. And that's as far as I'll go with telling you about the plot. The feel of this film is the key here. It is really well balanced. Things seem really well thought out. There are a lot of contrivances in films like these, then they just run over them and don't try to explain themselves. This thing takes its time. It bubbles away like a nice soup. Terrible analogy, but little things are set up at the beginning, and then they elevate and elevate and elevate, and there are moments where you think things are going to go off and they don't, because this guy is trying to be a good guy, but he's also trying to rid the world around him of the things that just don't make sense, that aren't right. And it's great for that. The pacing on this is just great. You just sit back and let it kind of wash over you. Denzel Washington obviously makes this really fun to watch because he's such an engaging actor. He exudes this power, but also this calmness. He's played these kind of supportive roles in the past, and so he's really good at doing that. It was great to see Chloë Grace Moretz in this. I think she was well cast. It was a really good dynamic between the two of them. You felt this familial bond between them, and so the fact that he goes to try and help her doesn't feel like a massive stretch. And then it opens up this big can of worms as the film progresses. There are some standout moments in this film from the villain, who is extremely convincing. It took me back a bit because I understood this actor as coming from The Kingdom of Heaven, most famously for me, and to see him in this role as a Russian mafioso who's like come to take names and deal out death and judgment very harshly is brilliant. But they drill into who he is, especially Denzel Washington's character. Like, he is the instigator and really dials into like the psyche of these people. Also like has a lot of internal struggle himself, and you feel that within the film, and so it makes for entertaining watching. The action scenes are brilliant when they happen. They're very infrequent, but they hit hard when they happen, so there's a lot of build up to them. And so these moments that happen feel really earned and feel really like, oh man, like it hits you really hard. For people who like their action with a bit more realism in terms of gore and blood, I think this is for you. You're going to have a good time. There are some things that Denzel Washington's character does that are really gruesome, and they hit hard and they look great in the film, but it doesn't hold back. This is very much like, you know, I hate action films that have fights but there's no blood or there's no real kind of intrinsic pain attached to it. He is out to kill people, and it feels justified in pretty much all the cases. If you don't like blood and you don't like nasty things happening to people, this is probably not your film. But if you enjoy that stuff and you like it when it's like, ooh, like you feel that, you're going to enjoy this film. So overall, I thought this was just a knockout film. People will try to put it into a box of it's one of these revenge films, a bit like Taken or other like older films that have come before it, like way back in the 80s. Revenge thrillers with cops and guys trying to redeem themselves. It's not like that. It's a little bit more nuanced and has some messages, and they're very obviously underlined by what Denzel Washington is reading. He's reading Moby Dick, and there's lots of stories and morals that he shares throughout, and they tie into the greater narrative. So that I just really enjoyed that. Like, everything seemed to connect really nicely. So I would give this a big thumbs up. I'm really glad my mate turned me on to this. I'm looking forward to watching the second, and then obviously I'll go on and watch the third. If you like this review and this series, please give a like and subscribe. That would help greatly. We're going to do more of these, and I will obviously be reviewing new films that come out as and when I see them. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.